All righty. We guess we have to talk about that game. That was no fun.
hmm
Welcome Benji Ritholtz at the top here. He's going to join us for a few minutes. Hello, Benji.
Hey, John. Good
How you doing?
times.
Great times.
I'm
Yes.
okay. I'm okay.
Yeah. So Knicks lose this one to the Washington Wizards, 116-105. This was, of course, Bradley Beal's return to the lineup. He had played 13 minutes of basketball over the last three and a half weeks. He played well, but that was not the reason why the Knicks lost this game. The Knicks lost this game because they just did not really show up completely tonight. Final margin, I should say, was 11 points. I don't think that was necessarily indicative of how this game played out. The Knicks never, I think it took them, it felt like it was about 3 minutes. Maybe I don't even think it took 3 minutes for them to go down by close to double-digit points. And then they never got closer than 7 points the rest of the way. Had a few opportunities to really make a dent in the Wizards' lead. They never took advantage of that. I think there are several narratives that could come out of this game. We could go with the home narrative that the Knicks don't play well at home. They're now 2 games under 500 at home. I saw Timmy Bontemps just tweet about that a minute ago. They're one of 6 teams that have a losing home record and the only one that has a winning record otherwise. So that's not great. If you want to talk about how the Knicks have not dealt well with prosperity this season because now it's 2 losses in a row and you go into Atlanta and then you go into Toronto and all of a sudden you're sliding down and you're getting closer to 500. That's a narrative. For me, the narrative that I am choosing to go with tonight is that they played like a tired team. And I will lean on something that the great Benji Ritholtz said about an hour or so ago, which is that when you play 2 games or 3 games in 4 nights, and even if you have a day off before the third game, Benji, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the game that you really feel it the most, is what you said. And that is certainly how it appeared to me because the starters, who are the guys who've been playing all these minutes, there was just no zip. There was no zip on defense. There was no oomph on offense outside of Jalen Brunson because he's Jalen Brunson and that's just what he does. Yeah, I think they're a tired team. And I think if there was ever a game that if you're a member of the front office and you watched and you were like, man, we may need to make a move sooner rather than later. And we haven't even mentioned Mitchell Robinson, who left this game with a thumb injury that we don't know what the severity of that is. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about Jericho Sims. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Benji. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I just thought it looked like a tired team from the jump. Like there just wasn't any jump with that first unit tonight, and we haven't seen them get off to that kind of start in a very long time. And I don't think that's a coincidence. It's a hard thing to evaluate fatigue because you can see signs of it, but in the end of the day, you're watching the game, it's hard to know whether it's fatigue or just bad execution sometimes. I thought there were enough signs tonight watching that game, how slow they were to the ball on rebounds. Just a general lack of energy that I don't feel like we've seen, especially from that first unit in a long time. And so I do, Randle had a really terrible game. But I almost have trouble getting too critical of him tonight because, man, the minutes it's not just 3 nights and it's not just 3 games and 4 nights. It's a back-to-back that was grueling as you can have, including an overtime game and all your guys playing 40 plus minutes on both nights, or both days, I guess.
I was about to say both days.
I think I don't think you can look past that. I think that is the kind of the first point to be made, is that before getting too critical of the individual performances, and you should be critical of certain things, but it did look like a very tired basketball team to me. And I thought early in that third quarter, maybe there was an opportunity to go to the bench a little bit earlier and try to get something out of that game because you just kind of saw where it was going. And I thought the bench gave a little push there at the beginning of the fourth, got it to whatever, 7 or 8.
7, yeah.
But maybe it was a little too late.
Yeah, and I think that leads to the only other thing that I want to get your opinion on before I let you go is the bench. Not counting Quickly. Emmanuel Quickly is in his. This team has 6 starters, and then they have everybody else. Jericho Sims, we should take a moment. Well, I'll praise the people that deserve praise. I want to make sure you're here for the praise on Jericho Sims. I thought he had I don't know if he was my favorite thing about this game, but he was pretty damn close. So other than him,
I think he was my favorite thing of the game.
he might have been. Yeah, he might have been the best thing about this game.
He was the one guy who brought consistent energy, offensive rebounding, keeping plays alive at the end of the half, especially. Gives you a little versatility defensively. He guarded on the perimeter well a couple of times. Didn't get support on the boards as much as I would have liked from his power forwards. But yeah, gave great energy, caught a lob, all over the offensive boards all night. I think the play Jericho movement was more due to Hartenstein's failures than it was to Jericho. We hadn't seen him in a while, and to see him come in now and make that kind of impact right away, it's only going to increase the calls for that flip to happen. And Hartenstein didn't do himself any favors tonight either.
No, and didn't get on the. I'm curious. I forget when he left the court, but I know he was the first guy out of the game in the second half. It felt like it was at about this halfway through the third quarter, give or take, a minute. And then Hartenstein didn't get back on the court. It was Sims, and then they went small to try to make the comeback. For me, and this is what I was going to get to that I wanted to ask you about before I let you go, is the Knicks are in this interesting place where they're the 6th seed right now. But as you said towards the end of that game, I think what we're going to start to look at and we're going to start to see very soon as the Knicks schedule gets tougher. They have the second toughest schedule in the Eastern Conference from now until the end of the season. You're going to see a morass, as you called it. Them, the Heat, the Hawks. I'm not counting out yet. I'm not counting out the Raptors. Hell, the Wizards are in 12th. I'm not counting them out. All of these teams are when Halliburton gets back, the Pacers will probably still make a push. So all of these teams are going to be bunched up. And the Knicks are 6th seed right now, but at the same time, I don't know that they necessarily operate like, a team that is in the 6th seed. They still need to give consideration to things like, hey, is there a world where we could trade for a center? I'm not saying they should do this, but I'm going to just make my point. Is there a world where they could trade for a backup center and it makes their team better than it would if they play Jericho Sims minutes from now until the end of the year? Yeah, that world probably exists. But based on what Sims has given you and based on where they are at as a franchise and where they're at as a team, I would argue, no, you know what? Let's get Sims those minutes if there's an opportunity to get him those minutes. Where I'm more curious about is the other end, where it's now the Deuce thing. I don't want to say it's run its course, but it's getting hard at times to deal with his lack of an offensive game. And as you pointed out several times tonight, defensively, even it's not where it would need to be to make up for the offense. And then there's the elephant in the room, I feel like, that's growing bigger by the day, which is what's going on with Obi Toppin? This is his 5th game back from injury, 6th game back, whatever it is. I don't know what you do on that end. And that's the part where I'm and I'm sure it's going to come up tonight because a loss like this, people are going to want to talk trades. How much do you value as a franchise from now to the end of this year? No, we're making sure we get Deuce's minutes. We're making sure we get Obi's minutes. Or is there a pivot there, whether taking someone out of the rotation or trading someone away, that would involve an upgrade that maybe does not solidify your push for the 6th seed, but strengthen it? That's what I wanted to ask you before you went.
Yeah, it's a great question. Obi is, look, the way we've always said this, the way that they utilize him, the minutes that he gets, you're certainly not putting him in any kind of position to succeed. I don't want to, the player's never blameless. He hasn't done enough to make an impact. Tonight, he literally stood in the corner for, I think, the entire game that he was in. He barely moved from that spot, that left corner, including on a play where the ball was swung to Deuce McBride. I thought with 8 seconds left on the shot clock, I'm Obi, go screen for him. Instead, Deuce tries to isolate. Deuce is forced to isolate, and It's a turnover. It's if there's ever a time for a second side pick and roll, Deuce gets swung the ball. Go set a screen. He's just not. It's partially his fault. I think it's a result of the situation he's been placed in, and it's not going to work here. As long as Julius Randle's here with this coach, it's not going to work for Obi Toppin. I am confident in saying that, and I think it's better for his career, probably better for the Knicks to get a wing in that spot instead of kind of a standard 4 that can be a little bit more flexible. Like, it's probably time to move him if unless you're going to move one of the other two guys, whether it's the coach or the power forward, the starting power forward. That trio, the combination of having Julius and a fairly inflexible coach with a backup 4 who needs to get minutes, it's not doable. So like from that standpoint, it's probably time to move on. I don't know what you do. And maybe the Duarte for Obi kind of swap, and that makes almost too much sense for both teams.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to say that because I really like Obi.
I
want to see him succeed. I want to see him do more because I know there's more in there. But I'm just talking about where the situation is with those 3 people in the same locker room. It's just not going to work.
At the same time, with the NBA, as we've seen, I mean, if you want to throw Cam Reddish as an example of this, you can. There's certainly been others, many that have wore this uniform over the last 10, 15 years. The valuation drop-off in the NBA can be a slippery slope. And one day you could be a guy who's in Zach Lowe's preseason top 5 things or top 5 players I'm most intrigued by this season. And the next day you could be like, well, wait a minute, what is this player's value exactly? And it's at a point right now, like before this trade deadline, where I don't know what it is, but there's going to be a team out there who's going to be like, no, we'll make a bet on that guy. We'll see if he could work in our system. Referring to Obi Toppin. I think the further you get down the line, as you just eloquently said, if the situation does not change, that may change. Do they pull the plug? That's going to be something to watch. Yeah, I don't know.
You know, one thought that I had, and then I'll let you get to the super chats.
No, please,
is it's almost you know what they need? They need a wing who can guard wings, but who can also handle the ball and give them a little bit more juice on that second unit. And you know who that player really is? It's not Reggie Bullock because he doesn't give you the playmaking aspect. It's a different former Knick who's on the trade block
and can't be traded here.
It can't be traded here, but that's the guy. And they gave him up to clear caps, or whatever the reason was they gave him up. But like, you want to know one of the main reasons the Knicks second unit succeeded the last 2 years?
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely
can give you that versatility as a wing who can guard wings pretty well, knows the system, and can play make and make threes, which God knows they cannot make a freaking 3. It's Alec Burks. Yeah. That's the guy.
And everybody,
perfect guy.
Everybody couldn't wait to run Alec Burks out of town. And
he was right because he was the point guard.
Yes, and that was Tibbs' fault, and that was Tibbs' fault, and that was fair.
He's been an elite backup wing for many, many years now. That's just what he does well, and it's a shame that he's not. He's the guy they need, and he can't come back. So
and guess what? He's going to get traded to. I would bet he's going to get traded to a playoff team, and that guy is going to make an impact on a playoff team. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they lose this game by 11 points. Again, I know it wasn't that close. It was a game they had Mitchell Robinson for 9 minutes, and it was a game, as you just said, they hit 5 threes. Is it the game that I'm not going to lose sleep over this game? I have a feeling there may be some angry comments, but that's fine. Comes with territory. And I'm not going to blame anybody for being upset. Again, it was a somewhat dispiriting effort at times. But, like, for as well as they've played and for as good as their overall numbers are, and we cite them every night on here, this team does still have some very significant questions. Not the most significant questions to answer, but they have some significant stuff. There's some significant balls in the air that are going to be answered between now and the deadline. And anything else before I let you go?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you. It's not a really game. They have to make more shots, and that's good.
Is that Randle, hold on? Let me get your basketball expertise.
That's why I'm here. That's why KFS hired me, just so I could say they need to make more shots. But like RJ and Randle made 0 threes in this game. That's going to be a tough formula. I thought Quickly and Grimes had open looks that they missed. I thought RJ's going to have to shoot the ball better. Like, that is what it is. It's really difficult to overcome the 3-point disparity that they're going to, and you're right. They do concede threes as part of their offense. So they're going to give up a bunch of threes. Teams are going to make some of them. And if you can't make a requisite amount to just keep pace so that the other stuff that you do can make up for it, the offensive rebounding, the getting to the rim at an elite level, the making the floaters, like all that stuff they do very well.
Yeah.
But like if it's 18-5 and 3 points made, you can't overcome that.
I was about to say, I don't want to, last thing, and then I'm going to let you go. I don't want to poo-poo and brush aside the the stuff they do well, because like I sometimes it feels like you're searching for silver linings. For me, after a game like this, I do think that is a legitimate silver lining, that you could look to this team night after night, and they do things very well.
Yep.
And there are things that are built into the foundation and core of their team that are real and that are good and they're positive. But you're right, it's just, this is the reality.
I'm with you. Yeah, it's I think they will make some more shots. I think, hopefully RJ goes on one of his runs where he starts making some threes. Randle's got to bounce back. And look, I hope the minutes, maybe it's a trade that's needed, but I hope the minutes come down. And I do think that in the end, this was a game largely about a tired basketball team. Yep. So we need to lower minutes on guys and lower the stress and then get into All-Star break and hopefully refuel.
I'll do it at some point tonight later, but I'm at the point where I'm like looking ahead to the All-Star break, and I'm like, can we get into the All-Star break with X record? And I don't want to already be like, can we get it above 500? But I have a feeling I may not be far off from that.
Yeah.
Okay, Benji, you're a mensch, as they say.
All right. Good luck tonight, John. Enjoy it. Talk to everybody later.
Later, my man. All right. We will, before we get to, we have a couple things to bang out before we get to the super chats real quick. The moment of the game that I hope I just didn't throw you off by saying we're going to go to the moment of the game.
No, I'm here. What's up?
Okay, so we have 3 contenders. We're going to do something from the first half. It was one of those, not a huge impact play in the game, but it was that good of a play that you have to include it. For as bad as Julius was tonight, he definitely had the pass of the game where he flipped it somehow on a drive into the corner for, I don't know who made the 3, but it was
Brunson.
Brunson made the 3. Incredible pass. And it was in the moment, I think it cut it to 7. So it was a big moment in the game. And then second contender, the Deuce McBride to Jericho Sims alley-oop that got the Knicks 83 points. And then
made it, and again, cut it down to 7. So this is
7.
Back when we thought maybe there was a chance.
I'm sorry, I have to laugh. Tibbs, I guess this is probably how he started his presser. Overall, we didn't play well. Yeah.
No kidding. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Tibbs. Much to the chagrin of everybody.
We are aware.
Yes. Much to everybody's chagrin. I
Uh-huh.
love Tibbs. First step is admitting you have a problem. Anyway, last play, pick a quickly bucket there in the fourth quarter. He made a few. I don't know. You want to, maybe there was a step back 3, I think, that got it to within, would it get it to within 8 maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah. So whichever that step back quickly 3 was.
It's funny. I thought you were going to go with one of Randle's and ones at the end of the game.
Nah, we gave Randle. Listen, I'm not giving Randle 2 play of the game contenders on a game like this. I do feel bad. At least the play of the game contender that we're giving him included a Brunson make, which we should say Brunson was awesome in this game. Not perfect by any stretch, but not one of his, I wouldn't even say it was one of his best games. But again, how lucky is it that we get to sit here and be like, yeah, this wasn't one of Jalen Brunson's best games. And you look up and he had whatever the fuck he had. A lot of points. And some of them were on some very impressive makes.
Finished with 32, by the way, Jalen Brunson. So he didn't score in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Didn't come in until late, and I think he only had a couple of attempts there in the fourth, but did not score. All right, let's transition to our Weiss and Rosenboom personal injury report before we get to the super chats. So we actually have something to talk about. Don't forget, if you have a injury that you would like to inquire more about, call Weiss and Rosenboom today at 212-366-6100. No case is too big or too small. You have to remember, if you have a situation and you want to get more information, go with the experts. Do not go with a rookie. Don't go with Trevor Kills. Go with who's our best. Go with Taj Gibson.
I was gonna say go with Taj. Don't go with a rookie. There you go.
Visit weissandrosenboom.com for more information. Again, 212-366-6100. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes. So Grimes, we should note just very quickly, got poked in the eye, came back, started the second half. Hopefully that's nothing, although we have seen games earlier this season where a player suffers an in-game injury, comes back, finishes the game, and then they're listed on the injury report the next night or the next day, whatever, next time they play. Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch.
Who? So it's a sprained thumb. Bondi had a very cryptic tweet. Not that Bondi actually knows what happened already, but like Bonnie's been covering the sport for a long time, and I think astutely said like sometimes these are whatever it is. Was it UCL tear?
Yeah, he speculated. I can pull up the tweet.
Yeah, I think it's something that would have Mitch be out for a month. Now, Mitchell Robinson, we've talked about this a lot, how not only his importance specifically in terms of how the Knicks play, but just they're a team that really is not well equipped to lose any of its top 6 guys because, again, that top 6 is so important. If he's down for any substantial period of time, that's a big deal. And it's a big enough deal. It's a particularly big deal because you can even without Mitch, I think this team is good enough and sturdy enough, and you get enough from Sims, and maybe you go small ball and whatever to maybe get some wins against some teams. Their upcoming schedule at Atlanta, at Toronto, Cleveland, at Boston, at Brooklyn will probably have Kyrie back at the very least, maybe KD, who knows? And then a 4-game homestand: Lakers, Miami, Clippers, Philly, and that gets you to 5 games before the All-Star break, and even in there's not a whole lot of picnics. Like, that's a bear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to answer the question that I posed to myself a little while ago in terms of, can they get to the All-Star break with X? Yeah, if they can get to the All-Star break, I'm saying it right now, I'll say it. If they get to the All-Star break above 500, good job by this team with that upcoming schedule. And that's knowing nothing about Mitchell Robinson. If they lose Mitch, that's going to be tough.
So that's 14 games. So if they go 5-9, that's 29. 5-9, that's
that would give them 30 wins because
30
they're 25
and 30
wins right now.
Yeah, it gets them at 30 and 30 at the All-Star break.
30 and 30 at the All-Star break. Would I sign for that right now? I don't know that I'd sign for that right now. I would sign for 31 and 29.
I'd sign for 30 and 30.
30 and 30, you said is what? 5 and
It's 5-9. I'm looking at the
5 and
schedule,
9?
especially if Mitch is going to miss time.
Well, we don't know that yet.
I'm also they need to. I mean, my take during playback, lukewarm as it is that Reggie Bullock will be a Knick on Friday in Atlanta. They need to upgrade this back half of the roster significantly.
So it's funny. Last thing, and then I'm sure we have super chats to get to. Last thing I'll say is, I said I was talking to somebody earlier about Reggie Bullock actually, and Mark Cuban. Apparently, it is maybe a little bit of an open secret in Dallas. Mark Cuban not being so forthcoming with the checkbook these days. And the thing with Reggie Bullock is he's on the books for 10 next year, but it's only 5 is guaranteed. Still, I don't think any NBA team wants to write a check for a player $5 million to go away. So it's not. I don't think they want to like keep him on the books and waive him to try to get under the tax. They're gonna have tax issues next year if they re-sign Christian Wood, which if they don't re-sign Christian Wood the summer or the year after losing Jalen Brunson for nothing, they have bigger questions on their hands than tax issues. Anyway, there's a reason why they may be looking to offload Reggie Bullock. And I thought Mark Stein's report from earlier today that the Knicks are looking to get Reggie back for Cam because the Knicks don't have tax issues. And as Jeremy has talked about many times, are looking to get in the cap space game, not in 2023, but in 2024, which is when Bullock comes off the book. So that trade makes sense for a number of reasons. I think it's going to come down to which team asks for, or which team relents on like, okay, we'll do it without a second round pick. Long story short, I'm starting to wonder, like, someone's going to have to be the first domino in the league to make the first trade. The Knicks have been the first domino the last 2 years. Are they going to be the first domino again, especially with, oh my God, are we going to like look at the schedule ahead? Are we going to backslide? They need to make a move.
How ironic it would be. There would be a Cam Reddish trade that jump-started trade season again. But I guess we'll see.
Yep. All right.
You ready to do this?
Let's do this. Okay. Starting us off. Can't wait to see who it's going to be. Can't wait to see what the tenor of tonight's going to be. Red Sarachek. What's going on, Red? Do the subs have to be at scripted times? Jalen Brunderkind. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit already, right? I think the issue with the subs on this team is that they are not giving you being Tom Thibodeau, what you need. So we talked about on the playback a lot tonight about like different staggering options. Do you make it such that, one of Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle is always on the floor? I don't know what you do. Like there's any way you want to say it or any way you want to go with the subs, there's going to be drawbacks. Like we could sit here after a game like this and be like, oh, they should have done this, something, this person. Like Benji said it. The only time where it seemed to be glaring was when the starters in the third quarter like clearly didn't have it, and you wanted to get the subs in earlier, and then the subs came in and Deuce did nothing and Obi Toppin did nothing. So like, I don't know. And again, we could blame that on all kinds of things, but the fact of the matter is this is where this team is at right now. They have 6 guys that they could trust. And if you want to throw Jericho Sims in there as a 7th, we could do that too. Thanks, Red. Frank Miranda, what's going on, Frank? Great to hear from you. Hey, Mac, it's your boy Frank from Patreon. Can't wait to see you on the town hall next week. Is it mirrored? Does RJ only concern himself with scoring and doesn't hit momentum-turning baskets? Ooh, man. I thought I was hard on the guy. It's past time we start giving him the same energy we gave Randle last year. Spoiler alert for any newsletter subscribers out there. Shout out to the Knicks Film School newsletter. Please subscribe on Substack if you would like to receive it. RJ's not getting one of my stars of the game. I think he had the second most points to the Knicks. I don't think he's deserving at all. I thought in some order, Jalen Brunson, Jericho Sims, and Emmanuel Quickley were the best players for the Knicks tonight. And I think probably Quentin Grimes, maybe not Grimes, because Grimes had a couple moments on defense where he got blown by on closeouts and missed some open. I know he shot it okay tonight, but he also missed some open threes. There were like RJ had some nice buckets tonight, and those are important. And they're important because this offense is built on, again, it's read and react. And that starts at the top. And most of the time when you're Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle, your read is going to be take the shot if you're single covered. With RJ Barrett, like there's some of that too. Like he's going to take a lot of shots in this offense. And he hit some really nice shots tonight. And they were impressive looking and the whole thing, and that's great. I got to see a more complete game. I got to see a more complete game on both ends. I don't know if I'm with you on the like doesn't hit momentum turning baskets. Like you can't control that. But again, there's just like it's the little things. It's committing to defense. It's committing to closeouts. It's committing to positioning. It's committing to that, it's that, to use an overused term, that dog. Find that dog in you. Because, again, we're in a little stretch here now where there's just no dog in RJ Barrett on defense. None whatsoever. It does not exist at the moment. And he's playing a ton of minutes. You want to give him a pass because he's playing a ton of minutes? That's up to you. I would argue that there's some blame here to go around, and RJ needs to own some of this. So that's my take, Frank. I appreciate that. Mythic Monty, what's going on, Mythic Monty? Tibbs letting Julius get away with dumb shit kills the team in the long run. They need a bench upgrade. Not enough offense playmaking in the stretch. Yes to the bench upgrade. Yes to the offense playmaking in the stretch. As far as the dumb shit, I'm going to push back a little bit on that because like I feel like we saw a season's worth of the dumbest shit in the history of dumb shit from Julius Randle last year. I'm, again, would have to go back and rewatch to really look at it and key in on him for the entire game. I didn't feel like what we saw tonight was like that manner of dumb shit. I felt like what we saw was a guy who, again, was tired, didn't have a shot. Now, am I going to, in one breath, kill RJ Barrett for not doing little things, and in the next breath, give Julius Randle a pass? Yes and no. Yes, because Julius Randle has played at an all-star level offensively for this entire season, and over the last half of the season has cleaned up his defense to the point where it's good enough to consider him, in legitimately in the all-star conversation, although this recent slide might take him out of it, unfortunately, for him. That's number one. And two, like, we know the things that Randle is not great at defensively. Like, he's not the smartest of players when it comes to reading. Like we talked about it tonight on the playback, on the fast break, he doesn't make great decisions on the fast break. When it comes to like switches and like coverages and things like that. He doesn't always have the correct instinct. I don't want to say he's not a smart player. I'm sure Julius Randle is very intelligent. His actions on the court evince a player who does not always think the game or have the highest processing speed. Make sure I correct myself. Like RJ was billed as something different. And we've seen him, I think, be something different at times. So I know it's in there. And Julius, again, like the dude just had his 6th consecutive game with 15 or more rebounds. Like, say what you want about the stuff that he's not doing and like the things he didn't do tonight. It's all fair. But that he has really been a beast on the boards for the most part. And even he, though, I have to say, he missed a tough rebound tonight that it was down the stretch, and I don't know that would have made a difference, but like ball was right there, he didn't grab it. That's again why I'm like, he's tired. But then again, maybe RJ's tired too. All right, enough about that. Hamdy M, what's going on, Hamdy? At the game, hate when they do the t-shirt toss when we are losing. Amen to that. Yes. That's the energy I need right now. Thank you. My daughters are having a good time, though. Father's daughter's night out. Ugh, Obi. Yeah. Shout out to dads and daughters. # girl dad. I love it. Yeah. Frank with another one. Hey, Mac, it's your boy Frank from Patreon. Thank you for the generosity, Frank. Seriously. You go over and above, and we appreciate it more than you know. It's time to make that call to Toronto and see what it would take to get either OG Anunoby or Gary Trent Jr. This team needs a serious shot in the arm, and Brunson and Randle look exhausted. Don't think you're getting the OG trade this before the offseason. I mean, that would be something else. Like, I'll talk it out because I think here's where you get the OG trade, and I'm not saying, to be very clear, that I advocate for this. And I'm not saying like Toronto would do this. I'm not saying the Knicks would do this, but like as I'm thinking it through, there's one scenario where I could at least say like, okay, maybe I could see it. If Toronto is scouring the market for OG and has scoured the market for OG, and they are skeptical about whether they can get the DeJounte Murray package, which is like 2 completely unprotected picks from a team that's like it's further enough out, and that was reported. I forget who reported that today. Somebody reported that today or yesterday about that's what they're looking for. The DeJounte Murray package, like 2 unprotected picks, an unprotected swap, another protected pick. If they look around and they're like, man, that's not going to be out there because he's going to be unrestricted, he's not going to extend. He's not, he's definitely like going to plug in as like a third guy. He doesn't really operate with the ball. He's really more of a 3-and-D wing. Like if they look around and they see that and they're like, let's just try to get the best asset that we can, like the best single asset that we can. I wonder if the Knicks decided to put their own unprotected first this year on the table, how much would that move the needle? And it would take Toronto, I think, having some belief that maybe even if they made, like, if the Knicks acquired OG, that maybe the Knicks somehow could still, like, fall out or, like, lose 2 in the play-in or whatever. And, like, so, like, worst case scenario, you end up with the 10th, 11th, 12th pick in the draft. Best case, maybe you get supremely lucky. Now, would the Knicks do that? Would they send that pick out without like top 1 protection? I don't know, but that's the reason I say that comes to mind is because like the Knicks are not going to pay the price that it would take to get an OG Anunoby at this deadline if it meant like really cleaning their cupboard dry. But if there was like a singular asset that they put in the deal that Toronto felt good enough about and that like the Knicks felt comfortable enough giving up for, whatever their reasons, then like maybe that I don't see it. I don't see it. As far as Gary Trent Jr., that's a guy like, maybe you get him for a protected first and like Fournier's contract or Rose's contract and like a young player, not Quickly or Grimes. So Obi. Yeah, I think that's far more likely. Dan Hidalgo, 10 shots by Grimes doesn't feel like enough. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he shoots it every time the ball ends up in his hands, and it feels like whenever he's open, he gets the ball. I mean, teams are really honoring him. Now, could they make more of an effort to find him? Absolutely. Could you run more stuff to try to get him open looks? Yeah, sure. I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure they think about this stuff. I'm sure they talk about that. But that's a fair comment. Appreciate that, Dan. Robert Cross with the first one. First time, long time, John. Feels like the Knicks need more gas in the tank. What do you want to trade for? Who do you want to trade for? And why? Hashtag 53 wins. You always put me on the spot, Robert. You're always making me squirm in my otherwise comfortable seat. I can't answer that question because I don't know what the cost. Like, if they could get Eric Gordon for anything less, like for 2 second-round picks, you know, and whether it's Rose's salary or, you know, especially Fournier's salary, like, great. If I like Eric Gordon a lot, I think Eric Gordon would help this team. If I have to give up a protected first for Eric Gordon, do I suddenly want Eric Gordon more or less than, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a guy who's not going to cost you like a protected first. Like all of these, like that everybody know, like here's the problem. Everybody in the freaking league knows a few things. One, they know the Knicks have no bench right now. Two, they know the Knicks are dying to win fucking basketball games and get that 6th seed. 3, they know the Knicks just sent out a first-round pick to get back all of these protected picks that they then did dick with in the Donovan Mitchell trade talks because Utah was like, we don't want those. And they're just sitting on them. Not necessarily that they're burning a hole in their pocket, but they're just sitting here. You just traded for them because you thought it was going to make a difference. Like anybody who has a team or a player that's going to make an actual difference on your roster, guess what they're going to do? They're going to hold out for one of those protected first-round picks. I don't know. Do you make the trade with the team who's willing to accept 2 seconds, whoever that player may be, even if that player like may not do much? That's why I keep coming back to it. The suggestion today to bring back Reggie Bullock from Dallas. Now, as Benji said, is Reggie Bullock going to solve all your issues? No, he's not. But it'll help. He's a guy who can play 20 minutes for you and give you a commensurate two-way play. So that's probably my default answer right now because I know at least the cost. Reggie Bullock ain't costing you no protected first-round pick. Thanks, Robert. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? I think the guy I want to trade for is Gary Trent Jr. if the Raps are selling him. We need someone who could hit a big 3. 6 threes is not going to cut it in the modern NBA. Did they get 6? I thought they got 5. I must have forgotten one. That's my bad. I'm sorry about that. So Gary Trent Jr. can hit 3s. Gary Trent Jr. can defend his position. You know, put the ball on the floor occasionally. Gary Trent Jr. is also going to make a lot of money this summer. A lot of money. So I don't know what the Knicks have planned. I took another look at the cap sheet today moving forward. Unless there's a significant move over the next year and a half, like that would it's not even that, because if they like make if they make like a star trade or something, like barring a really big trade, even going into 2024 as they are right now, in which they're slated to have a lot of cap space, they're not slated to have max cap space. So, like, I don't know what they want. Is there a player or players they have their eye on in 2024 that they feel like they could get for less than the max? Do they feel like they can, because they're going to have so much room, you know, having all that extra room makes the salary matching a lot easier, so they could, you know, they'll be able to swing, I don't know, RJ for someone in a sign-in trade. Like we can have all these sorts of conversations. Like, I don't know. The point is, if you trade for Gary Trent Jr. on an expiring contract, you're going to have to give up real stuff to get him from Toronto. You're not going to trade for him so he could walk. So you're going to re-sign him. What is it going to take to re-sign Gary Trent Jr.? I think it's going to take about $20 million a year, and you ain't getting him for a year or 2 years. You're going to have to invest like 3-4 years. Is that something they want to do? I don't know. I don't know what their plans are moving forward. Would he help this team? Absolutely. What's the cost? I don't know. Thanks, Kev. Like that we're talking trades. I like that we don't talk about this fucking game. Dan with another one. Where Randle's play goes, the team's success follows. It's not a coincidence that they've been on this run and they ended up hitting 7 threes. Oh, Jesus, I'm off. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you, Andrew, for reminding me of that. Yeah, it's not a coincidence that once Randle's offense really took off, that the team, like, that's the thing is, like, I'm not saying we took it for granted, but like for the last month and a half, Julius Randle's just like taking these shots and he's just making everything. Like there's like a bad Randle shot. Like what has a bad Randle shot been over the last month and a half? Because it's just been, and really you could almost extend it more towards the beginning of the season because he's been really good for a long time now. He's in a bit of a drought now. His last 6 or 7 or 8 games, whatever it is, with the 140-point explosion mixed in. Hashtag or shout out to Forgotten NYC for pointing out his stats during the playback. Yeah. They need him. Unless they're going to get big time stuff from RJ and like, I don't know. I haven't seen that. Save for 1 second half a couple nights ago. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? Salute. The positive is that this is the last game without Reggie Bullock. We all know GMAC predictions are a lock. Yeah, GMAC is never wrong. I'm not sweating this, but it shows we really need help off the bench and fast. Yeah, I'm not sweating it either, but like remember these words if the next couple weeks don't go well. And like there is a world where they could play well moving forward, especially if they don't have Mitch. And this thing gets dicey. Like what you don't want to see is a panic trade. You know, you don't want to see that. Yeah. Let's hope we keep this same energy. Robert Cross with another one. It's your boy, John. Is it fair and reasonable to say that Obi is a lost cause on this team? Oh, my goodness. If so, who's to blame here? Hashtag 53 wins. Do we start the countdown clock on when hashtag 53 wins has to go bye-bye? I think we're getting close. Who's to blame? I'll go with third. Front office, Tibbs, Obi. And if anybody gets a little bit more, it's the front office if you look, a player's going to be what a player's going to be. And like Obi, he needs to be better. He hasn't been very good since he's come back from injury. And like, he was really good earlier in the season. And then right before he got hurt, he wasn't so good. So more and more, you're getting a sample size where it's like closer to half the season that Obi hasn't been great. You know, that's unfortunate. So like, he has to own that. There's just no two ways about it. As far as like Tibbs versus the front office, you know, like, yes, Tibbs is stringent. He wants to play 2 centers, limits Obi's minutes, the whole thing. Like, you want to say play style, even with the personnel he has in there, that's fine. But like the front office hired this coach and has retained this coach, knowing full well this coach has the tendencies that he has, and that's how he gets wins. And one of those tendencies is we're going to get 48 minutes of rim protection. unless we're really freaking desperate. And they got desperate tonight. And you know what happened when they got desperate tonight? You know who wasn't in the game when they went small? Obi Toppin. That tells you that speaks volumes about where Obi Toppin is right now. That they went small and Tibbs didn't put him in. And by the way, nor should he have. Because if you're going to go small right now, you're going to go small with the guys you went small with. Quickly, Grimes, Brunson, RJ, Randle. Wombler, what's going on, Wombler? Horrible defense and attention to detail. Yeah, I think it happens when you're tired. Worst loss in some time. I guess it depends on what your definition of bad loss is. But if you want to say that, that's fair. RJ and Julius Randle, weak defense were the biggest standouts to me. What is with these home efforts? Again, tonight, I'm more inclined to say that they are a tired team, which is indicative of some larger issues. I don't feel like their efforts at home have been poor, not in a very long time. I think the efforts have been there. I think if you look at the home losses that they've had, it's much more about what happens at the end of the games than about how they start the game. This is the first game, I think, since Andrew, jump in and let me know if I'm wrong. I think this is the first game since the Dallas game. And even the Dallas game, they came out with a decent effort in the Dallas game.
This was the first, like this comment said, start to finish. I guess not this comment, but there was one that mentioned that, like, start to finish, this was doomed from the start. We were saying it on playback. This was one of the worst first quarters we've seen in a long time, which then speaks to what you're saying and what we kind of landed on a theme for the night. This is an exhausted basketball team.
Yeah.
You know, which
it's very clear.
It's why they need to upgrade. So we'll see.
Thanks, Wombler. Appreciate it. But agree. Bad defense, bad attention detail. Busy. You know, LeBron James is coming into MSG and breaking the scoring record, right? Yet another all-time great we are on the wrong side of history for. So, you know what I did today or yesterday? I went and I did the math about what does LeBron need to average if he wants to be 40 points away from the scoring record when he comes in here. What does he need to average if he wants to be 50 points away from the scoring record when he comes in here? What does he need to average if he wants to be 60 points away from the scoring record when he comes in here? Because do I put it past LeBron James to put up a 60 spot in Madison Square Garden if it means passing green? No, I don't. He would need to basically approach 40 a night from now until when he comes in. Can he do it? Yes, he can. And like, we know LeBron is a student of the game and the history and the whole thing. I'm not ruling it out. Busy with another one. What makes it worse is the thought that it might happen at the beginning of the year. And I didn't bet on it. That's a bad job by you, Busy. You got to put your money where your mouth is. Speaking of putting your money where your mouth is, where I have regrets. Andrew Claudio paid for a substantial portion of his lovely fiance's engagement ring by having a gut instinct on most improved player early last season and putting his money where his mouth is. Andrew Claudio, I don't know if you want to pop in here. How many games had passed this season where I was like, Lauri Markkanen, most improved player, put your money on it? It was 3 games in?
Third game in. Lauri Markkanen looked great with the Jazz and how he's being used. He's a surefire all-star. He's currently the front. Now he's the front runner because Halliburton's hurt for most improved player.
And I'm pretty sure the odds were like 30-1 at that time. And I said I did this. We did it on a Patreon pod. It was like the way too early awards thing that we did. It was 3 games in.
So where we are in New York, we can't bet on player awards in any sport. It's like a weird thing with the New York agreement with the betting commission that you're allowed to bet on games, you're allowed to bet on props. You can bet on individual moments and whatnot. You cannot bet on individual season awards. And you texted our good friend, Mr. Ozrowski in New Jersey, hey, just pro tip, Lauri Markkanen, most improved player. See what the odds are. And yeah, that is something I'm also regretting not texting and seeing if I could talk to a friend in Jersey about jumping on. So
just a terrible freaking job by me not figuring out a way to put some money on that.
I'm gonna jump off and I'll text them to you. I want to see what the odds are now for most improved player, but good job by you figuring out the seeing that early. I am curious to see what Jalen Brunson's odds are, but
He's not getting it.
I'm just want to see what the odds are. So we'll see.
Thanks, Busy. Appreciate it. As always. Robert Cross, what's going on, Robert? This is for the legend of GMAC. What is his secret to assembling an all-star roster that is KFS? Hashtag 53 wins.
So this is in reference to DJ Zulo, who is the newest member of KFS. It's helping him out with some
awesome thread.
Some pregame breakdowns of the upcoming opponent. It's not going to be every game, but if you go to the Knicks Film School Twitter account, and going forward, I'm going to try and get them onto the YouTube channel and on other social platforms too. He put up an outstanding breakdown of how the Knicks guarded Kyle Kuzma last game, and I couldn't help but notice them making the same mistakes today. Now, Bradley Beal's on the floor, Porzingis had it going, so you had to honor other people. But yeah, he's going to be doing some film work for us along with Benji. So give him a follow. He's tagged in the Twitter, in the tweet that we posted earlier. And yeah, the secret, Robert, is to be open to very talented people joining the roster. That's really it. I like talent when I see it. So
yes, I agree. Kevin, what's going on? Kev, great to hear from you, man. Kevin McEwen. Randle patting like a child is not a good look. That's never a good look. I'll get back to that in a second. His shot is not falling. He doesn't play defense. He's totally disengaged. It's embarrassing to watch. Harsh comment on Julius Randle. Man, when did I become the Julius Randle defender? Things that you didn't think were going to happen. He does play D. It's not great defense. It's not great defense. His doubles aren't good. He doesn't close out the way you want to. There are very clear weaknesses in his defensive game. I think largely his effort has been there this year. The second half of the year, let me be very clear about that. There was not here in the first half of the year. But here's the thing: when you have to couch it so much, like the more I couch it, the more it's like, you know what, Kevin, you're right. I don't have anything to say. No, it's like it's there. Like you want to highlight the good, but part of why I feel the need to highlight the good with Randle is because the bad is so bad. So when you get some good, you're like, oh my God, let's praise him for the good. Should that be the way it is though? Right? I think that's what really your point is it's like, and that's, I mean, really your child comment. I have less of an issue with how he reacts on the court because this is who he is. This is how he goes about his business, and it is what it is. As long as it's not impacting his ability to get back on defense, which it does sometimes, I don't mind that because I think his teammates know who he is at this point, and they're just like, it's Julius. The child analogy is, I think, more apt where you in the sense of like when you have a small kid and the kid, makes poopy in the potty for the first time, you give him or her a standing ovation. There is a part of me that wonders if we've gotten to that point with Julius where it's like, oh, Julius tried on defense tonight. Julius like didn't fall all over himself on the defensive end. Let's praise him for that. I'm not all the way there. I'm not full poopy and potty. But I wonder if we are bordering on that. Thank you for inspiring that analogy, Kevin. We've had some doozies tonight.
by the way,
yes,
I have nothing to add to poopy in the potty, but I looked up the odds. Would you like to know the top 5 for most improved player right now, John?
Can I guess?
Go at number 5. You think it's number 5?
I'm not guessing them in order. Is
Okay.
Markkanen on it?
Yes, he's on it.
Is Halliburton on it?
Yes, he's on it.
Is
more fun with a 5 through 1, but you do you.
I'm sorry. Can I look at a list of teams?
No. There's an obvious candidate that's number 1 that when you hear it, you're gonna be like, oh, is that really? And it's like in the spirit of Ja Morant. His team.
Give me a half a second. Give me a half a
Okay.
second. Give me a half a
Okay.
second. In the
There's
spirit of Ja Morant?
yeah, like a guy that we're not surprised probably with the next step he's taken, but because the award is weird, you know.
It's not that it's a weird award.
But it's so Ja Morant won it, but it like wasn't like a crazy improvement to be like, oh, you were the number 2 pick in the draft, you were, you know, you had a moment in the playoffs, and then your team won 56 games with you as their best player.
I'm cheating. I'm looking at standings. De'Aaron Fox?
Nope.
Is he in the top 5?
No. He is number 7 right now.
That's not that bad.
So number 7 is De'Aaron Fox. Number 6 is Des Bane.
Okay.
Number 5 is
SGA.
SGA is number 1
Number
right
one.
now.
Okay. That's a bad job.
Number 5 is Bull. Number 4 is Anthony Simons. Number 3 is Lauri Markkanen, but this should change probably as the injury for Halliburton keeps him out longer. He's number 2, and SGA is number 1.
Where is Brunson even in the top 10?
I got nothing in the top 10. Jordan
Okay.
Poole has better odds than Jalen Brunson.
I'm really not surprised.
Well, there you go.
Say. So it might come down to Lauri and SGA. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you for that, Andrew. Brian Benjamin, what's going on, Brian? Tibbs game plan. Brunson, Randle, Cook. Our offense sucks. I don't care if we're top 10. That's a testament to our players, not our coach and his offensive plan. All right, we got our first aggressively anti-Tibbs comment of the night. I mean, you work with what you're given. Tom Thibodeau has really gifted one-on-one scorers. Jalen Brunson, certainly. Julius Randle this year. You put the ball in their hands. You trust them to either make the shots or make the right pass when the pass is there to be made. Like, a lot of teams run that offense, you know? And I make the point always, it's like, it's not, you know, like calling plays and having intricate plays and whatever you want to say. Doesn't make players better passers. Doesn't make them better cutters. Doesn't make them better screen setters. Doesn't make them anything. You call all the plays you want. Your roster is what your roster is. And, oh, by the way, Knicks don't hit a lot of shots. So, you know, all the plays in the world to get the Knicks shots, like, you still got to hit them. And they don't hit enough of them, unfortunately. I want to look up the stat. We do like positive stats to our regular updates. The stat that I'm always interested in checking and reminding myself of is where the Knicks are in terms of percentage of threes made in the year. They're down to 27th. The 3 teams that shoot the 3 worse than the Knicks this year are the Hornets, the Rockets, and the Raptors. You know, so it's like, again, what does intricate offense get you? Get you open threes. Well, got to make them. Jewing on with another one. Who is the team that gives us value for Obi with him playing the way he has? Amazing how we killed this kid's value, although his own play hasn't helped. I don't know that his value was ever that high. Like, he ended the year scoring like 80 points over the last 2 games. If they shopped him this summer, what could they've gotten for him? I don't think anyone was giving them like an unprotected first-round pick. I think they probably could have gotten a top 10 protected first if they shopped him this summer. You're not getting that now. Who's the team that gives us value? A team that knows they're going to be able to use him in the way that he should be used. Indiana's a good one. I mean, Indiana's just so obvious. It really is. It's just incredibly obvious. But, like, I think there are other teams out there who could give you good value. But Indiana's the most obvious one. And they have 2 extra first-round picks this year. It's a different question as to whether the Knicks want another first-round pick this year. I don't know if they do.
To be fair to Juanon, what he is specifically saying as far as value is concerned is since we drafted him.
Oh, well, that's related to Julius.
Right, but that's a trickle-down effect of if you want to just look at him as an asset, not as a player, his value has gone down every second that he's been a Knick.
I disagree with that. I think his value went down. I think his value fluctuated, and then his value reached the highest point since they drafted him at the end of last season. This season, from there, and actually, I don't even know that it's gone down over the first 20 games of this year. I think you could argue that maybe Obi's value even went up from where it was at the end of last year because he was doing so much in the minutes he was given. Then it started to go down.
Yes, So then that goes to your point that his offense was never actually that high, but like for high enough to make it sustainable value.
I think don't forget, like, I don't want to get into the whole Obi thing, but like, don't forget what the conversation was when he was drafted. His conversation was he's by far the most NBA ready player in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And like that dude did a lot of shit on offense in college that, look, did he ever get the chance to fully do here? No. And that's partially because he got injured in literally his first NBA game and he missed the next 9 and in the whatever, or 8 or whatever it was. And by the time he came back, Julius Randle was like already making an all-star campaign. So he never got a chance to really establish himself as like, I'm going to be the go-to guy on a team and see what I can really do. That said, the instances where he's gotten a chance to quote unquote cook in the NBA hasn't gone particularly well.
Outside of last season at the end. But I understand what you're saying. That's 11 games when you're playing out the string.
And even that he just hit a lot of threes. Like, I'm talking about like run the offense through Obi Toppin. I don't think
any team is going to run the offense through Obi. It's just they're going to use him differently. They're not going to stick him in the corner, you know?
Yeah, so like you're not like there's a value drop off. There's like a big, like, you're either paying for a guy that could be a significant, huge part of your offense. You give the ball to, he could be one of your top 3 guys, and you're paying a DeJounte Murray level price or higher for that guy, or you're giving up a protected first. Like, it's not like, I'm going to give up a, like, 1.5 unprotected first. Like, there's very little you don't see those in between trades. Because you're either going to be a main guy for your team or you're going to be a cog. And like Obi, from the very early going in his NBA career, it was very clear he was going to be a cog.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm just like, it doesn't, to his value, I get it. Like, he doesn't have the value of a Murray or someone who like is the focal point of an offense. He is a cog. I just don't think as a cog he's been used correctly.
Yeah,
like
totally fine. But like your valuation fluctuation within the cog range is not going to be that high. It's not like, I mean, I guess there's a world where he doesn't get injured and like they trade Randle after 15 games and like they start featuring Obi Toppin and his career takes off a completely different way. And then he's viewed as much more than a cog. I don't know. We don't live in that world. I don't know what that world would look like. There was another team that I had thought of that I thought might use him better.
Jalen Brunson is 3rd, by the way, in odds. I found a different site that's more updated. It's SGA, Lauri Markkanen, and Jalen Brunson.
Really?
Yeah, for them, it's plus 1,200 for Jalen Brunson. At some sites, got it for plus 1,400. But it's a very clear, like, SGA, Lauri Markkanen, 2-headed race.
Maybe it was Toronto that I was looking at as a possible. No, that money would. Well, Toppin and Rose.
Their transition offense isn't great. That's why Indiana's a team. He gets to run transition with Halliburton. There'd be all these dunks available to him, even if he's not like, Amari or even like Markkanen this year. I think there's a version where he's more than 0 points a game with the Knicks, or he's not just standing in the corner.
Yep.
But
fair.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it going. Emil Boumansor, what's going on, Emil? I can't wait for the Tibbs hate. Players play, coaches coach. Shocking effort. Miami Heat is killing the Pelicans. Yeah, they did. They won that game. The Knicks don't want to meet the Raptors in the play-in. Listen, the Knicks are, again, it's 2 losses in a row. They've been largely really good over the last 2 months. They're about to enter a really dangerous place. Based on the schedule, they gotta right the ship. I think this week, I'll say this. I think it's really important to come out with a win this weekend against Atlanta or Toronto. I'll sign. Where do I sign on the dotted line for 1 win? of those 2 games. Just show me the dotted line. Kevin, ideal post-deadline rotation, same starters with IQ, Gary Trent Jr., Reggie Bullock, and Sims moving forward. Okay. My heart breaks, but I think Obi is hurting the team right now. May need to trade or go to the bench. I don't think there's any universe where they bench Obi Toppin. That is not going to happen. They'll bench Deuce because they know Deuce doesn't really have any real value to begin with in terms of trades. So sticking him on the bench for the rest of this year is which I think is what's going to happen. They're going to stick him on the bench for the rest of this year, and then they'll hope, to use him as a rotation player or a semi-rotation player next year. So in your scenario, that's maybe Obi's the thing that gets you Gary Trent Jr. I have a tough time seeing Toronto looking at Obi. He just is so. Now maybe they needed something different, but he's just so different from how they play. Defensively, they won a championship based on defense. Anything good that franchise has ever done, they've done since Masai's been there. They've done with defense, switchability, defending on a string, high level stuff. They're gonna look at Obi Toppin and be like, "That's the guy that we need." I don't know. Maybe is there a 3-team trade? I don't know. I don't know if I see that, but they're not benching Obi. They'll trade him. Maybe they're not gonna bench him. Wambler with another one. What is Obi's floor? I don't want to answer that. Defense, rebounding are rough. Man. I mean, he's a third-year player that we have people saying maybe he shouldn't be in the rotation. I really don't want to answer that question. I like Obi Toppin a lot. It's just if you're in, I'm going to try to take this one step at a time. If you're in the league today, if you're not a center, and Obi Toppin is, I don't think he's a center at either. He's definitely not a center on defense. Can he be the center on offense? Yes, he can be the center on offense. So I don't know. Maybe I should couch this statement, but if you're not a true center, if you're not a guy who could play true center, and you're going to be an undersized 5, let's say, which is what Obi would be, even if you're going to be an undersized 5, you kind of have to shoot it. And if you're not going to play center, if you're going to play any other position, you have to shoot it. And if you're not going to shoot it consistently enough, how many NBA rotation players right now are guys who just don't have reliable 3-point shots that don't play center? They're out there. Deuce is in the rotation right now. There are other players. But those players bring other things to the table. And Obi is a beast in transition, or at least he used to be. He hasn't scored a transition bucket in what feels like months. I don't know. I mean, it's low. He's always been kind of a quirky fit to envision, where you have to he's not Quentin Grimes, right? As Fred Katz likes to say, you could put Quentin Grimes on any team in the league, and that dude's getting 20-25 minutes. Obi Toppin is not that. There's a lot of teams that Obi Toppin, if he went to tomorrow, would not get any time. And that's just the reality. So, Eliusi, I think I got that right. Trade Randle, strong part of the schedule upcoming. He will fold and be toxic when times are hard. It just takes a different animal. He's not it. Side note, Tibbs playing with iHeart over Sims, a crime. Well, he started the second half with iHeart and they didn't go back to him. So credit to Tibbs for making the proper adjustment. Yeah, I don't know that I would go that strong on that. As far as trading, they're not going to trade Julius Randle. I don't know. If the team lost 7 or 8 games in a row, might they trade Julius Randle? I guess, depending on how he was playing at that time. But again, it's like, I'll steal someone's line who I don't think they want me to give them credit for this, but I'll just acknowledge that this is not my thought. Is Julius Randle the least tradable player in the league? Not in the sense that he has the least value, but in the sense that, like, when he's going good, it's like, oh my God, we can't trade this guy. This guy's amazing. And when he's going bad, it's like nobody wants him. Like, if they lost 7 or 8 in a row or something, which I hope it doesn't happen, and Julius is suddenly playing poorly, like, who's going to trade for him? What are you going to get for him? You know, as of right now, you're basically saying beat them to the punch and trade him now. They're not going to do that. Maybe the right thing to do. They're not going to do that. And if it is the right thing to do, for what? Where are you going? You know, it's always the same question with Julius. Where are you trading him? What are you getting him back? How do you justify that to your team? How do you justify that to your owner? How do you justify that to your coach? Not that anybody cares about that. Hush Zoo. A lot of selfish ball played today. It was pretty glaring. This is where I blame Tibbs on Obi. He's just a corner boy. That's coaching. I disagree. Go set a fucking screen, like Benji said. Go set a screen. Go be active. Go do something. Make yourself matter on the court. He's a big boy. He could do it. Is it all on him? No. Is some of it on him? Yes. Zach Hara, what's going on, Zach? Good to hear from you. These happen sometimes. I'm glad we fought back. I love Zach's attitude. I always appreciate you, Zach. Thank you. These make the stolen ref-aided losses that much more annoying. Let's go Knicks on to the next one. Yeah, like, I think kind of where I'm at this point, like, things have been really good for a while now, even with the Dallas loss, the second one, and the Bulls loss, and some of the other hard losses, Bucks, Raptors, all of that. It's been good. It's been good for a while now. And people have brought up, like, oh my God, it could be even better. Imagine if they won just these couple of games that were obviously right there for them to win. The Bulls game, the Mavs game. You want to throw in one more. They could be ... whatever. 5th in the East, or, neck and neck with this team or that team. I kind of go the other way. I'm like, they needed to bank 1 or 2 of those wins. So when the going gets tough, and I think the going is about to get tough, it doesn't get to a situation where you're in crisis mode and panic mode. That's kind of more where I'm at right now. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Thanks, Zach. Rowan Beckford Sr. What's going on, Rowan? You made a great point on playback. Oh, thank you. There's no wiggle room. I love my team, but this is why I watch more for entertainment than rooting for a chip or playoff success. Yeah, that's, first of all, smart by you. This team is not going to have is not going to win a chip this year, and is probably not going to have a ton of playoff success. They've done really well to be where they are. I think they've done not a perfect job of maximizing their talent, because, again, we could talk about Obi, we could talk about Cam if you want, we could talk about, I guess, Fournier, maybe someone else or another player. I don't know. I think they've done pretty good maximizing their talent. But their wiggle, it's not that they don't have wiggle room. They have wiggle room. They have wiggle room in the sense that, like, they could sustain an off shooting night from a guy or two if they do everything else right. Or they could sustain an off defensive night if all of their offensive players show up and do, like, play pretty much to, like, the best level they can. They can't have both. They can't sustain both, which tonight they didn't get the shooting and they didn't get the requisite defensive effort. So, but then again, like, how many teams in the league can withstand, I'm combining words here, withstand both of those things? Contending teams, right? Contending teams are like quasi-contenders, pretenders, whatever. Basically, the top 10 or 11 teams in the league, which the Knicks are not that. They're right outside that. They're in that group, that next group. That's what they are. That's what they are. TJ Akai, what's going on, TJ? We're bottom 4 in assists, yes, after being 30th in the last 2 years. I know John likes to tout the top 10 offense thing, but heavy ISO isn't sustainable. I'm not going to pretend to have a right answer on this. I always just go back to you deal with the talent on your roster, you deal with the strengths of the players you have, and you try to maximize those strengths and minimize the weaknesses. And to me, the fact that they are the 4th worst three-point shooting team in the league, they are still a very low effective field goal percentage team comparative to their offense. And their offense still is where it is. And that is a testament to you're focusing on the heavy ISO stuff, but part of that design is the fact that they have 48 minutes of elite offensive rebounding, which is going to turn a lot of misses into makes because it gives them second chance points. It is ignoring the fact that they are one of the lowest turnover teams in the league. And typically, when you go heavy ISO, you're going to get very low turnovers. That is part of their plan. All of this goes into their offense. Like, you just want to focus on the ISO. I get it. There's a lot more to it than that. Their offense, to get to a top 10 offense, going pretty ISO heavy and without any assists and with the talent they have, that means there's a lot else at play. And none of that shit is by accident. It all goes into it. That's maximizing your talent. Now, if you tell me it's ultimately not getting us anywhere good, and we'd be better off served with a different coach and with a different scheme and taking the time to install a Spurs-style scheme or a Warriors-style scheme, and to hell with the fact that we don't have the players right now to institute it, take the time, take the years, go through the pain, go through the tough years, and become that sort of team. Guess what? Root for the fucking owner to sell, because that's what tanking looks like. And they were never going to do that. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? I can't front. I want OG Anunoby. I think the price drops. Could the cost even out in the value he brings to a future deal? If they trade for OG, they're not trading him for him to then trade him. I think they're trading for him as a piece, because you're going to re-sign him in a year and a half to a lot of money. And it's probably going to make him not a very tradable asset, unless you're trading for him to trade for him, and you're not you're not going to give up the assets. Even if the price lowers a little bit, you're not going to give up the assets it takes to get an OG Anunoby, unless you feel really good about him being a big part of your team. So, as far as if the price drops, I don't see it. I think they could get a Murray type package. There's too many teams that want to win. Hush with another one. Obi would be perfect for the Warriors. I wonder how much it would be to get Moody from them. I'd give up a first-round pick and bet on him as a future piece. So you want to give up a first-round, a protected first, and Obi for Moody? That's an overpay for a guy who is just not seeing rotation minutes right now. Like, think about this. Anthony Lamb, who's a two-way player, is a more impactful guy for the Warriors right now than Moses Moody. You could argue that, oh my God, what's the guy? Is it Ty Jerome? Andrew, is it Ty Jerome on the Warriors?
Yes. One of the punchable faces.
Yes. Okay, there you go. Ty Jerome is arguably a more impact player, another two-way guy for the Warriors than Moses Moody has been. Like, you want to give up you don't need to now. Maybe the Warriors want to give him up for a second and Obi. Maybe that's a trade you make. I don't know. That's fine. It'd be interesting. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time, John. Let's say you're the GM. Are you upgrading the roster for this year, or would you hold tight in picks and kids? Great question, Robert. Phrased a little differently from your last one. Slyly. You're a sly guy. I would make an upgrade for sure because I think at this point as a franchise, you've kind of like you've laid your course and wins are important. Making the playoffs is important. Pushing a good team to 6 games, getting a couple wins against a good team in the first round. I think that would be important. I think there's value in that. So go for it. Now, you're not going to give up real stuff to go for it. You're not going to give up stuff you care about to go for it. So then it's about like picking and choosing. It's like, again, it's that cost benefit analysis of like, all right, if I have to give up, is there a guy out there that's worth me giving up a protected first, let's say, and Obi, again, let's say, along with Derrick Rose's salary, let's say, as opposed to, like, okay, here's your question, right? Let's say I could get Gary Trent Jr., just for argument's sake. I'm not saying this deal is out there. But let's say I could get Gary Trent Jr. for Obi Toppin, a protected first, and Rose's salary. Do I make that deal? Or if I could get Reggie Bullock for Cam Reddish and let's say I'm getting a second round pick back in that deal, a protected second round pick from the Mavs, or like a crappy second round pick from the Mavs. Like, which of those 2 trades do I want to make? I don't know. Part of me wants to make maybe a more in between trade, but then I don't know. They have to do something, and I think ultimately it may just come down to making the best deal. Wherever they feel like wherever they feel like the value is, make the value. But trust your valuation. But I have crossed the bridge of like, I don't think you can keep Obi as untouchable. Not that he was ever truly untouchable, but like, sacred cow. Thanks, Robert. Red Sarachek with another one. By the way, played Benji in high school. He was the real deal. Had a better shot than Steve Novak and the IQ of Grimes. Praying Sims minutes are here to stay. Hashtag Jalen Bruntonham. I like that one. Shout out to Benji Brittles. Basketball superstar. I knew he was good.
I have to correct you. Jalen Brunton on him.
Brunton on him? What did I say?
Brunt on him. You like Bruntonham, which is not what he was saying. He was brunt on him, like stunting on him.
Brunton on him. Okay.
There you go.
This is where I don't have any street cred.
All good.
Why, thank you. Will Oliver. Matinee game vibe, not going to win with 7 for 26 from 3. Completely agree. Red Sarachek with another one. If RJ's feet are moving slow on defense, have him guard the 4 and give Julius extra 4 minutes of rest. I mean, Kyle Kuzma, I know he's not a 4 for this team, but that dude's a 4 in the modern NBA. And RJ was getting cooked. RJ, that's the thing. That's the problem with RJ right now. It's like, who can he guard? He gets body. You want him to guard a 4? You know who's a 4? Scotty Barnes. I know this, like, whatever. Barnes didn't, like, shoot well against RJ. Man, Barnes ate his lunch. Kuzma ate his lunch. 2's eat RJ's lunch. 3's eat RJ's lunch. Doesn't matter what number you are. If you're going up against RJ this year, you're probably eating his lunch. He just needs to be better, and he can be better. But like, anyway. Oh, sorry. Go back to that for a second. I want to read the rest of that comment from Red. let you keep Grimes and I quick IQ on the floor with intermittent deuce minutes. Just seems like he needs a different look on defense. Yeah, I don't think it's about the look. I I think he needs to be better. Red with another one. I mentioned it the last game. Thank you for the generosity, Red. I appreciate it. Second time super chatter. Thanks for all the content on all the platforms. Bad 2-game stretch, but I'd rather deal with these issues now as opposed to game 1 of the playoffs, like the We Here season. Yeah, that really wasn't great when we got to the playoffs. I'm like, oh, this is a house of cards. And we're watching it fall down right now. No, that wasn't very fun. I'd rather deal with these issues now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. I'd rather. Here's what I don't want to happen. I don't want the wheels to come off. I like the vibes this season. I like the team this season. I like the way they've played this season. I like the players on the team this season. I like all of that. I want that to continue. I don't want to get to a place where we're like back in apocalypse mode, where we were certainly early in the year. And we kind of almost briefly hit, I guess, or we did briefly hit with the 5-game losing streak. I don't want to go back there, which is why, again, I will say, win one of these games this weekend. Please win one of these games this weekend. Busy. I hate Obi's getting blamed for being used wrong. What do you want him to do? Go set a screen for a guard who didn't call for it and get an offensive foul. I mean, again, the truth lies in between. You have to put some responsibility on him, Busy, and again, the being used wrong. You want him to be used as a center. In this offense, you're calling him for him to be used as a center. The thing that I find myself constantly wondering is, like, if Obi was this devastating pick and roll player, right, where, screen, dive, screen, dive, screen, dive, and that was putting all this pressure on the defense. I mean, I guess listen, I'm not putting anything past anybody. I suppose they could be seeing that in practice and be like, nope, we're not going to it in games. Like, where's the evidence that Obi's like a good screener? Because you kind of do have to be a good screener to do that, stuff. Like, where's the evidence that Obi is a guy who could catch the ball in traffic? Like, we love Obi Toppin finishes in transition. And when he ducks in from the corner and he's just always doing is running in from the corner and he's kind of uncontested catching the lob. Or even off a cut. But operating off a pick and roll, like, you're not getting – it's really tough to get lobs out of that. Like, they get lobs out of that with Mitch, but what are those lobs? Those are lobs off the hands of RJ Barrett, who's a 6'7" guy, tossing it up high above the defense, and he could do that. And notice we don't get Jalen Brunson doing that because he's smaller. So that's RJ doing that. And Mitch, who, when he jumps, his reach after he jumps is as high as anybody in the league. That's not Obi, So, like, you're not just throwing him lob after lob on high pick and rolls. So you're relying on him to make, if not plays in space, I don't know, like tough finishes in traffic, right? Or tough finishes over someone at the rim. Like, this stuff is hard. And, like, the fact that they don't go to it more, to me, is an indication that they don't feel like it's a reliable source of offense. Now, I could be wrong. God knows I've been wrong many times before. But, like, we've never seen it. And, like, the default is, like, we've never seen it. Shame on the Knicks. We've never seen it. And I just wonder if there isn't another side of the coin where it's like, well, maybe there's a reason we haven't seen them try to go to that more regularly. That's my only pushback. Haitian Ferg, what's going on, Haitian? Always great to hear from you. Compare top 30 players in the league and rank our one-on-one players against that list. Coaches will allow their best players to do what they do best. Our top 3 players are ball dominant. FT. Front office. Look, slow on the uptick. Front office needs to create. No, that's not front office. What is FTOFF?
It's front office. You got it.
Needs create more IQ and QG clones. Oh, I didn't read the rest of that.
There you
go. Yeah, if they had one more IQ and one more Quentin Grimes, team would be fucking awesome.
Tell you that much.
Yeah, like the problem has again. I know I'm a numbers guy. I know nobody wants to hear it, but like, you can't fake it. You can't fake it. And if you want to tell me it's unsustainable, and if you want to tell me like it's the wrong way to go about things, just watch any playoff series ever. It's all ISO. Everybody knows everybody's shit. They have time to prepare for you. All the players are going to know what's coming. There's not going to be any players on the floor who get played off because of their defense. It's your best guys versus my best guys. And so the way the Knicks run their offense, that is what they're preparing for. You know? It is what it is. Thanks, Haitian. As always. Always appreciate it, man. All right, that's it. We're done. Andrew, let me know if I missed anything or if we have to say anything else before we go. But if not, thank you for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to like this video. If you are watching this still and you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you doing? Subscribe. We just passed 11,000 subscribers. Onwards and upwards to 12,000. Or, subscribers, right? And then follow Knicks Film School on social. At Knicks Film School. And also, I'll give one more shout out to... oh my God, I'm gonna get his name right. Ace Zulo, right?
Correct.
Okay, go follow him on Twitter. Really happy to have him as an addition to the team. Put out a great film breakdown today. Looking forward to him doing more stuff for us moving forward. And you will hear from me again Friday.
After the game on Friday.
Man, I'm loving these Thursdays off.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Andrew.
Speaking of Casual Friday, drops Friday morning. I will have an interview for the pregame pod on Friday at noon with legendary broadcaster Steve Holman, who's been covering the Hawks or announcing the Hawks for a long time. And we're going to talk about the Hawks for a conversation you'll get to hear before the game on Friday. And then it's John and APJP throughout the weekend. So
suddenly feisty Hawks.
4 in a row, 1 game behind the Knicks.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, looking at the schedule more and more, I'd sign up right now for 5 and 9. And by all means, go 6 and 8, but I would sign up right now for 5 and 9.
You might not be crazy for that. You might not be crazy.
Now look, when they go 7 and 7, and that the Claudio curse gets reversed, okay? That I said 5 and 9, and they did better.
Yeah. Okay. You get no credit.
Hawks in 6, John. Yeah, wrong about everything, right? How's Brooklyn's run to the finals last year?
I was a year early.
Yeah. So that's where we're going with it. All right, we gotta go.
All right. I'll see everybody later. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.